Okay, good day everyone. Today I'm doing a quick review on Demonia, the Lucio Fulci film from 1990. In this one, a Canadian archaeological team travels to a small town in Sicily and they end up provoking the supernatural wrath of some cursed nuns who were buried and forgotten in a monastery crypt around the area where their dig is occurring. Now, this movie was made in 1990, but it didn't actually get any theatrical release in Italy whatsoever. Eventually, it just went straight to video, and it didn't get any kind of official North American release until around 2001. Read just very briefly a couple of blurbs where people said that they thought this was one of Fulci's weaker films, and maybe it is, but honestly, I kind of enjoyed this one. I definitely enjoyed it more than Enigma. Um, this movie is entertaining, but it does sort of feel like a movie where a lot of the screenplay or the footage or both wound up on the cutting room floor. As it stands, like what you see is what you get. Now, the psychic connection between the main character, Liza, and the nuns was kind of interesting. It sort of reminded me a little bit of the relationship between Dracula and Mina in the 1992 film Bram Stoker's Dracula by Coppola. And just like that movie, I feel like there honestly is an expanded version of this screenplay with the potential for a flat out masterpiece. But as it stands, I'm not sure if Liza was a cursed nun reincarnated, or if she was maybe one of the burnt babies reincarnated, or if she was maybe just part of the lineage one way or the other, like a descendant of one of those two. And I can also see why some people might complain that this movie sort of gives them half a supernatural thriller and then half an unsploitation film without really giving you the best of either. But personally, I don't mind that this movie starts off feeling like one thing and ends feeling a little more like something else. I've liked that approach in movies in the past. Movies like Predator or From Dusk Till Dawn both come to mind just off the top of my head. But in this particular case, I will admit that it does feel like the elements of both halves of that equation could have been expanded a little more. But it's at least still a lean watch in its current format. And if you're prepared to just sort of disengage your brain and accept it at surface level, then it is a trashy but relatively tame sort of exploitation romp. Speaking as a Canadian myself, I have to say that I was keeping an eye out and I didn't see too many sort of plaid shirts or, you know, blue jean tops. No, not a whole lot of Canadian tuxedo representation going on in this archaeological group. And I never thought about Canadians talking like badly dubbed Italians, but you know, maybe that is what we sound like. There could very well be a whole subgenre of Canadian giallo just waiting to be birthed. And some of the dubbing in this is truly hilarious, like laugh out loud funny. Character Tori has a couple gems in that department. At one point, let's see, what did I say here? Yeah, he says to someone, "You're the one who's going to tell me what you want." But of course, it comes out, "You're the one who's going to tell me what you want." And even though this maybe doesn't reach the heights of vintage Fulci gore, there's still enough gruesome violence in this to leave me feeling pretty satisfied. I enjoyed the first kill where the man is killed with a harpoon gun by a phantom nun who is headless and topless. I also am struggling to remember the last time that I saw any kind of Italian horror movie that featured Canadian archaeologists sitting around a fire engaging in a sing-along hootenanny. And the death where the two drunk archaeologists fall into the pit of spikes is entertaining, although, I mean, it kind of bewilders me how the second guy managed to let that happen, because the first guy falling in like that, even though he does seem to sort of look at it and see it before he tumbles forward, whatever, you're hammered, it's one thing. But his friends right behind him, watching him, at least, or so it seemed, and after that first guy falls in and gets impaled, that second guy is just spinning his head around in circles, just, "Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go?" And it's like, come on, man, even the wet bandits are slicker than this. And of course, he still manages to take a tumble into the same pit and lands on top of him. And I also have to say, I don't think that the lead character, Liza, is any great shakes as an archaeologist or a researcher, because I mean, she never really manages to figure out what is going on, even though she consults with like at least two or three different people throughout the movie. She seems to get really nowhere. And at one point, a crazy cat lady just shows up almost out of the blue to provide a nice, convenient exposition dump for her. After she's done providing said exposition dump, it's almost hilarious just how quickly and cynically the movie writes her out. Like she basically provides this information to Liza, and not long thereafter gets her eyes clawed out by her own cats, which gives her such a high amount of stress that she just dies on the spot. And the baby burning scene is unintentionally hilarious. I mean, that fake doll isn't even moving a bit nice. And it must be a doll. I know you couldn't see the face, but that's probably why. They hit it and they just show you one arm melting. It feels like something I would expect to see in a fan fiction origin story for Chucky or something like that. When Robbie's dad is ripped in half by that trap in the woods, it's actually very entertaining gore-wise, even if it does feel a little bit random. And funny enough, I mentioned Predator earlier, and this does feel like sort of a cross between one of those sort of jimmy-rigged traps that Schwarzenegger and his soldiers built for the Predator in the first movie, and the hacksaw kill in Terrifier. But as much as I could probably go on forever complaining and nitpicking over the ineptitude of the gore and the action and the characters, this one held my attention all the way through. And as out of nowhere as some of it feels in its current form, that sense of sort of reckless abandon that personifies a lot of Italian cinema for me, just that, who gives a shit? Let's go for broke, throw everything that we can at the screen and see what sticks. It's hard for me not to be charmed by that approach. At no point in this movie was I ever bored, even if I had plenty of questions. And it's definitely a step up from Enigma for me. And I think I will be definitely adding it to my collection at some point. So that's all I got on this one. Please check back for more content very soon. And thanks for watching.